Harald Hardrada, also known as Harald III of Norway, was a renowned Viking warrior and king. He participated in numerous military campaigns, including a failed invasion of England in 1066, where he met his death at the Battle of Stamford Bridge. Harald was a prominent Viking warrior, king, and adventurer who lived from 1015 to 1066 CE. His life and exploits were marked by military campaigns, political ambitions, and a thirst for adventure. Harald Hardrada began his military career as a mercenary, serving in the Varangian Guard, an elite Byzantine army unit. He gained valuable experience and wealth during his time in Constantinople, which later influenced his ambitions in Norway. While serving in the Varangian Guard, Harald gained a reputation for his exceptional strength, bravery, and combat skills. According to the sagas, during his service in Constantinople, Harald engaged in a legendary feat of strength and ability. The story goes that one day, while walking along the narrow parapets of the city's walls, he spotted a group of men engaged in a game below. The game involved throwing a spear, and Harald was intrigued. In a display of his physical prowess, Harald leaped from the high wall and onto the spear, catching it in mid-air. He then performed a remarkable acrobatic feat, spinning around on the spear's tip, impressing both the onlookers and the fellow guards. This act of athleticism and daring left a lasting impression on those who witnessed it, and it further solidified Harald's reputation as a formidable warrior. This story serves to highlight Harald Hardrada's exceptional physical abilities and his fearlessness in the face of danger. While the historical accuracy of this specific tale may be difficult to ascertain, it adds to the mythical aura surrounding Harald and his larger-than-life image as a Viking warrior and adventurer. Harald became King of Norway in 1046 after his half-brother Magnus the Good died. He claimed the throne, initially sharing it with Magnus's illegitimate son, but eventually became the sole ruler. Harald aimed to expand his influence and established his authority over Scandinavian territories. Harald was a renowned warrior and led numerous military campaigns. He sought to extend his rule beyond Norway and embarked on campaigns in Denmark, Sweden, and even parts of England. He sought to gain power, wealth, and control over these lands. The invasion of England. Harald Hardrada's most famous campaign was his invasion of England in 1066. He claimed that he had a prior agreement with the late English king, Edward the Confessor, to succeed him. Harald saw the opportunity to seize the English throne after the death of Edward and believed he had a legitimate claim. Harald gathered a fleet of around 300 ships and sailed to England with a formidable army. He was joined by his allies, Tostig Godwinson, the brother of the newly crowned English king, Harald Godwinson. Tostig had been exiled from England and sought to reclaim his position of power. In September 1066, Harald and his forces arrived in northern England and launched an unexpected attack on the town of Scarborough. From there, they proceeded southward, plundering and villaging as they went, seeking to establish their dominance. Upon hearing of the Norwegian invasion, Harald Godwinson swiftly marched his own army north from the south of England. In forced march, Harald's forces reached York and confronted Harald's army near the village of Stamford Bridge on September 25, 1066. The Battle of Stamford Bridge was a fierce and intense engagement. The English forces, led by Harald Godwinson, engaged in a bloody conflict with Harald Hardrada's army. Despite being heavily outnumbered, the English managed to repel the Norwegian forces and secured a decisive victory. Harald Hardrada himself was killed during the battle, struck by an arrow that pierced his throat. With their leader dead and their forces demoralized, the Norwegian army retreated and made peace with the English. While Hardrada's invasion of England initially posed a threat to Harold Godwinson's rule, the English victory at Stamford Bridge bolstered Harold's position and allowed him to turn his attention to the impending Norman invasion led by William the Conqueror, which would take place just days later at the Battle of Hastings. The Battle of Stamford Bridge stands as a notable event in history, marking the end of Harald Hardrada's ambitions to claim the English throne and setting the stage for the Norman conquest of England, which would ultimately reshape the country's history and culture. Harald Hardrada's adventurous and warrior spirit earned him the reputation as one of the last great Viking kings. His campaigns and exploits became the stuff of legend, and he often celebrated as the symbol of Norse bravery and daring. His life and death at Stamford Bridge marked a significant turning point in Viking history, as it occurred shortly before the Norman conquest in England in 1066. Harald Hardrada's ambition, military prowess, and daring adventures have solidified his place as a prominent figure in Viking history. His attempts to expand his influence and claim the English throne, though ultimately unsuccessful, highlights the adventurous and ambitious nature of the Viking leaders during the late Viking Age.